Hello everyone, I'm Tim from Tim's PC and I build custom PCs to suit anyone's needs or budget. Also live stream my builds and repairs for transparency and educational purposes. So if you'd like to get an awesome new PC and you'd like to see it put together live, send me a message today. Alright, so we're here on a Sunday night and we're building a Lian Li D011 PC. So I've titled this stream, How to Build a Lian Li D011 like a pro. So the whole idea is I'm going to go through it sort of step by step, explain the methodology, if you will, why you do things a certain order, etc., and just a few tips to make sure it's really neat and looks good. So this is going to be Dale's PC. So Dale hit me up. He's over on the other side of the country, and yeah, he hit me up last week about a PC and sorted out payment, and I was like, I'll be able to get it done on the weekend for you. So here we are, Sunday night, and I guess we'll just get stuck right into it. So we've got the i7-12700F, 12-core, 20-thread CPU. Sorry, I need to, is there a, sorry, you see me losing my voice here. It's very hot and dry weather here in southeast Queensland today. We had tops of, it was like 35, 36 according to the car today. So very hot and dry weather. So anyway, we've got the MAG B760M Mortar Wi-Fi motherboard there. So it's a DDR5 motherboard. We've also got, sorry, you always see people on TV with a glass of water, handy, eh? So we've got a kit of Corsair Vengeance 6000 MHz CL36 memory there. It's a 32GB kit. We've got some white RGB fans. We've got a Silverstone, sorry, a Cooler Master V850 power supply there. It's the white one with the white cables, so it keeps everything looking nice. We've got a white cooler. It's a Cooler Master ML360. So I'm going to put that down here with our 2 packs of fans. We've got a 2TB NVMe SSD, the PNY, what is it, the CS1031. We have a PNY graphics card there as well. So the 12GB 4070 Ti. What else have we got? We've got a streamer cable for the 4070 Ti, so that'll plug in with addressable lighting. It looks really nice, and allows us to use this white power supply, and even though it's not an ATX3 power supply, we can connect up to our graphics card with the streamer cable, avoiding that horrible looking adapter. So that's the build that we've got here tonight. Nice cold water. Anyway, let's get stuck right into it. We'll have a look at this motherboard. So we get our board, but what else is in the box here? So we get our Wi-Fi antennas. We get a SATA cable, not 2, just 1. So they're starting to cut that back as well. Look at that. We get some M2 screws there. We get a little warning card. We get a little shout out. Share your MSI product experience. Help others choose by letting them know why you should choose MSI. You choose MSI if it's the best value board at your budget with all the features you want. Got the European Union regulatory notes, very important there. And we've got a quick installation guide, very important stuff. And we get some stickers here as well. So look at this, we get We get some MSI stickers. We get some little Lucky stickers. Lucky is the MSI Dragon. And yeah, look at this. We've got some cable ties there, so you can put a different color around different cables to know what they are. Anyway, we'll probably put all this to the side and we can create a little bit of a goodie bag there for Dale that I can send over with this, because with the Lian Li D011 here, yeah, we won't want to add too much extra weight to it, because it is going over to the Western Australian coast, and it's not just Perth. It's a little ways north of Perth, not too far, not like Port Hedland or something like that. Anyway, so what do we get on the MSI B760M Mortar Wi-Fi motherboard? So we get two 8-pin CPU power connectors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fan headers. Nice direct touch heat sinks, no heat pipe, but nice solid heat sinks there on a MOSFET VRM co-processors. Obviously our LGA 1700 socket there. We got 1, 2, 3 RGB headers, if I'm not mistaken, unless I'm missing one. No, so 3 RGB headers, 2 5V, 1 12V, dual channel memory there, so obviously 4 slots, 2 channels at 24-pin ATX power there. I'm losing my voice here tonight.
You're dying. Don't do that.
Oh, it's the thing about doing things live, right?
Mm-hmm.
3, we've got 4 SATA ports there, so they give you 4. Beyond a joke. Man, like, yeah, anyway. So we've got 4 SATA connectors, TPM, 2 USB 2.0s, got a front panel audio, got 2 M2 slots, so just be aware it's only 2 M2 slots. One and a PCIe X4 at the bottom there. And then around the back here, we've got 8 USB ports, 1 Type-C, 4 USB 2s, and the others are USB 3.1s. And so I had a question the other day, what's the difference between the red ones and the blue ones and all that? So if it's red, you can actually adjust the power settings for it. So you can turn it into like a port that'll charge a device when the PC's turned off. You can set that up in BIOS and stuff like that. Probably a good thing for me to do a video on, actually. We've got Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.1, got our optical audio in there, and that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, 2.5 gigabit LAN, that's the only thing I didn't mention. So pretty good motherboard there. So let's get our CPU on the board. So like I said, this is the 12700F, so this kind of trades blows with the i5 13600KF. So depending on which way you go, I think the i7's like $20 cheaper than the i5, but they're pretty much the same price. Okay, so we're going to need an M2 offset there. Two terabytes of NVMe goodness. I remember when a 60 gigabyte SSD used to cost hundreds of dollars, like when they first came out. And it was literally just for a boot drive. That was all you could fit on it. Now I've got a 2 terabyte one in there, 120 bucks. It's not bad. Am I getting sick?
Maybe.
No, I feel alright. I think, you know, you just have those days where you're a little bit...
You were fine earlier though.
Yeah, but see, I'm talking more now. Sometimes, like, you'll be alright, and then you talk for a little while, like what I'm doing here with a live stream. And then, like, talking for a while is what sort of starts to give you a bit of a cough. What's up?
Dylan says I'm still sad. I didn't see mine live. We'll have to get another one built one day.
Oh, Dylan must have been
Yeah,
one of the ones
he was
that we did
in the middle
between.
of moving, yeah, you said.
In between all the bullshit. That's a pain. Oh well. What's your specs? I can maybe give you a heads up if I build something really similar. Anyway, let's get our cooler on the board. So what do we get in our box here with the cooler? So I guess the main thing, most important part, is our closed loop cooler there. So we've got our pump and block over here. So that's what goes on the CPU. And there's our radiator. Oh. And so we get 3 fans to go on the radiator. We get some instructions and whatnot. And then we get our kit of gear here. So some AMD arms, we don't need them. An LGA 1151 bracket, we don't need that. We have an LGA 1700 socket bracket, we need that. We got our mounting screws, we need them. Oh, we get a full RGB and fan controller from Cooler Master here. The full 8 device one. Look at that, that's nice. What a nice inclusion there. Thanks, Cooler Master. That's very cool. Intel arms. Intel bolts. Nuts. LGA 2011 there, we don't need that. Our screws for the fans and the radiator. Get a little connector there to sort of hold things together if we need it. And we get some thermal compound. So I don't think we need that. I think we can probably just hand that straight off to the customer as an unused little tube there, because I've got plenty of thermal compound just sort of laying around. I got like 20 or so of these gigabyte ones that I've just had like pile up on me from people's builds, because they give you the tube, but they started giving like heaps of, like a really big tube out with each cooler, and then, you know, half the people aren't even, they're never going to use it again anyway. If they're going to change the cooler, they'd bring it back to me or another shop to get it done, because they wouldn't want to do something like that on their own. And the ones that are enthusiasts, there weren't, you know, sort of weren't really enough of them to give them all out. So after a while, I ended up with a good little stash of them. So, all right. So on the bottom of our cooler there, we have our block. So this is the point where the contact's made with the lid of the CPU. So that's where all the cooling action goes down. And so if you're sort of going, oh, liquid cooling, isn't that a bit dangerous, blah 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 blah, your car has liquid cooling. We've been using this sort of technology for a long time. And so when you buy a cooler, the warranty is on, primarily what you're paying for is the warranty on the pump. It's not so much the end of the warranty, it's just gonna like bust off or something like that. The tubing and the connection there, that's the strong part. That'll last for ages. The weak part in the cooler is the pump. And if the pump goes, then basically no liquid will circulate and your PC will start to overheat. And you're gonna know about it, basically. You'll start seeing evidence of that. Yeah.
Dylan says, where's the cat? Is it for sale? Oh, he's a bit broken.
Yeah, he's a little bit defective. You know, I called customer service and asked why being a proper cat, and he has his cone on, but they're unable to give me a good answer.
Oh, babe, watch his tail. I think he just dipped it in the thermal paste.
No. Ah. He did get his tail somewhere, but it was
Dylan says, I'll take it if it comes flying. He was found after fact.
Yeah, he was secondhand when we got him. Around the room, eh?
Dean says evening.
Hey Dean, how you going? Good to have you with us. Oh man, this is a for fuck's sake.
You do it.
pretty much. What the fuck?
Doing it wrong.
Apparently. I didn't even freaking...
Do you like the white pieces?
problem with them.
I prefer the white ones.
Yeah, Christine loves them.
Dita's doing alright. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, man.
Fluffy now.
What the fuck?
You got the wrong bolts or something.
I must have this around. This has got to be like the wrong way around or something.
How are you getting this so wrong? You've used this
A revision.
Oh, I take that back then. Fluffy now, what are you doing? Checking out.
Unless it's going on top. I think it's gotta. This has gotta be it, man. It's gotta be it. Yeah, there you go. Normally these brackets go on the bottom, but this one goes on the top. I'm like, how the fuck? And what do you know? No, do the opposite of what's normal. just for shits and giggles. It's like, yeah, this is how we attach the arms to a cooler. And someone was just like, hey, but what if it was the opposite of that? Just for fun.
Fluffy. Now we're just watching Fluffy now, like the inside of his can. He's sitting right in front of you.
He's gonna get a fluffy push in a second. Oi.
I don't know if he'll stay there. Oh, yeah, no.
Oh, he likes it up there. Okay. So now we've got those stupid arms on the block there that took far too long to do. I'll try and make up a bit of time.
Building this like a pro,
I know. What the fuck's going on? What the fuck is going on? Like a pro doesn't even know how to put the cooler together.
Dale says king of the PC.
Yeah, fucking right, eh? Nah, that's all good. So,
I think you meant the cat.
oh, you meant the cat, yeah.
King of the castle.
But yes, these silver arms, they go on the top, not on the bottom. So I'm trying to line it up on the bottom there. I'm like, because that's what it's normally like for coolers. you sort of screw them in from the bottom, and the screws screw into the plastic. But no, the screws actually screw into tiny threads on the arm, and then you screw the screws into it through the plastic on the cooler block, just to be different. But yes, anyway, while I was talking about the cooler, I was talking about how, you know, basically you're paying for the warranty on the pump. That's basically how it goes. And then the only thing to consider is how it's going to be orientated in the case. So in our case, excuse the pun, so we want the cables on that side there. Alright, and so I always get this cable here from the cooler block, tuck it underneath the arm there, just so it doesn't stick out as much. Then it can go sort of up. See if you can get it underneath the heatsink there, then it can just go straight up and out. So then you basically don't see it to the CPU fan header, and then that cable can be tucked away down there, as will this one over there. And so that will be our cooler connected to the board there. So just consider that before you mount your actual cooler, because it's a pain in the ass to go and take the cooler off after the fact just to sort of tidy up some cabling. So make sure you do that right, because you don't want to have to, you know, go back and fix your mistakes afterwards. Okay, so for this case, this is the D11, just the straight up D11, no it's not the Evo, it's not the Mini, it's not the XL. This is just the regular, the OG Lian Li. So we don't have a fan at the back, so you can quite comfortably put these pipes at the back, and then it looks nice. It doesn't cross over the RAM or anything like that. So we're going to have our radiator orientated like this in the case, so we want our cables down that end of the cooler. Okay. So the Lian Li D011 takes 9 fans. So if you're looking to build one, the best way of doing it is with the full 9 fans. So you can do 6 fans. However, it's not off the bat the best airflow dynamics. So we're going to get to the airflow dynamics of the case in just a second once we finish with this cooler, and I'll explain exactly how I set it up and why I set it up the way that I set it up, if that makes sense. But in short, the standard PC case has like 3 fans on the front. Basically, it's a normal case, but tipped on its side, so the cool air is being drawn in from the bottom of the case instead of from the front of the case. And then once you realize that, and you're like, oh yeah, so the heat comes out the top. It's like, yep, heat comes out the top, but if you put a radiator up there, it constricts the flow of air just slightly. So then those 3 fans on the side, which don't blow directly out of the case, it blows at the back there, so it's not, you lose a bit of the static pressure from those fans when it's forcing air out the back there. And so that kind of balances your airflow out. You've got all of these fans here pushing heat out, as well as heat being pushed out through the radiator at the top of the case. If you want to get real specific, you can get in there and tune your fans and stuff like that. You can make sure that the volume of air in equals the volume of air out. You can go and do all that. But in general, if you stick to this airflow configuration, it won't get too hot for you. The main 2 groups of fans that you need to consider are the bottom and the top. So just FYI. So when we're doing our case fans, which is coming up next, we will be starting with the bottom and we'll work our way up to the top. And so this Cooler Master cooler has these thumb screws, so it makes it really easy to get them on at first. Once they're thumb tight, just come back around with your screwdriver and just give them a couple of extra turns. Doesn't have to be super tight or anything like that. Just nice even amount of pressure there. Very good. Yeah. Media Gamer.
It's Media America, international thing.
Oh, nice. Yeah, D11. How good are D11 builds? They're just great. Sexy. Okay, what have we got here? So fan and oh, even a bit of sticky over the top of that. So this is an 8-device fan and RGB controller. So it's a fairly nice inclusion. We won't be able to use it for all of our fans and RGB items, because obviously we got 9 fans plus the cooler block has a RGB header as well. So there's gonna be a group of 3 fans, probably the bottom 3 fans, which are going to be hooked up independently from everything else. Although we could probably hook the RGB for them. I believe this controller is magnetic, so we can move it around to wherever we need to in the case. So that's a nice little inclusion there from Cooler Master. They didn't have to. What's up?
Oh, this caterpillar.
Oh yeah, I know it.
It collects bits of wood and stuff like that.
Yep.
To build a house. That
Yep.
Carries around.
I can't think of what they are, but the nymph goes around, eating things. Oh no, it's not a nymph. It's a larva. and they end up killing other bugs, and the bugs get stuck to the outside of its shell, and then by the time it like goes into the pupa stage, it uses the shells of its dead to like go through its next stage of metamorphosis. Sorry, anyway, we're getting really distracted, really off topic here now.
Sorry.
Talking about bugs. Okay, so now after all that, we'll finally get to the Lian Li Dynamic 11 case. So, like I was saying before, the thing with this case is it's a little bit different. It looks really good, but consider the airflow dynamics is basically a normal PC pushed flat on its face. So you got glass panel, another glass panel, back panel. If you need to install hard drives, you can put your hard drives in here. So this is a box of accessories that can just stay there. I don't need that. And the other part that you want to remove is this panel here. And so this panel here is the panel where you tie up all of your cables into nice bunches, and it all sits nicely behind that panel. The power supply sits there. You got your fans here, so you don't want any. You want to sort of have all your cables behind this panel here. You want to have this panel here that's going to have fans on the front of it. You want to have that all as unobstructed as possible. So just FYI. So yes, do remove that one there as well. And then around the front here, you've got a couple of 2.5-inch SSD trays. We don't usually use them these days, so they normally end up in the recycling pile. Alright, so all we got there is our cables here from the case: USB-C, USB 3, front panel audio, and front panel connectors. So happy days. And yes, normally when you're building a PC, you might be tempted to put the power supply in at this stage. With the Lian Li D011, the power supply is one of the last things that you want to put in the case. Once you put the power supply in, you won't have access to this hole here as well. So I just don't recommend that at all. Get all of your other small cabling and everything else in place first, and then you can put your big cables in down over the top of everything else. So that's my suggestion. Okay, I've done plenty of builds before, and I've snaked myself plenty of times by putting the power supply in early. That's why I don't like a broken record, but I build one of these PCs that you don't put your power supply in until you go a little bit further into the build. So first up is these fans. So chuck that dust filter over there. I'll grab one of these boxes of fans. Alright, so what do we get in the fan box? We get some cables and bits and pieces. Okay, we get a fan splitter, get some bolts, and a pretty useless RGB controller. I guess it'll come in handy for some things. We will probably need that splitter, And yes, I'm going to need some bolts. Alright, so our 3 fans, very, very similar, if not identical to the fans that are on our cooler. So we have all matching fans. Okay, so for the fans at the bottom, you're going to want to put them upside down, okay? Because you want these fans to be drawing in cool air. You don't want to be forcing air out down the bottom, because you got to think your graphics card's going to go directly above these fans. Do you want your graphics card to remain cool with a nice steady stream of air coming in from outside of the case? Or do you want to be creating negative pressure inside the case and making heat build up under the graphics card? I mean, it's completely your choice, but I would say that cool air from the outside of the case blowing straight on your graphics card, probably the best way to go there. So yeah, you get these fans in place first. It's a little bit painful getting these fans in. Alright, so I got those last 2 fans in place, and we just need a few more bolts.
There's only 9 fans.
Only 9 fans, yep.
Yes, so have you sent it WA?
Yeah, I have actually. Probably, I don't know, 30, 40, maybe more. I don't know, to be honest. I don't like record people's addresses as such, if you know what I mean. Okay, so Okay, so down the bottom here, just group your cables together there. Just put a single cable tie around it. And then you've got all of your cables down here, all together. So happy days, your first 3 fans are installed. You can then go and put your dust filter back on. Oh.
Nobody wants to know, is it hard to put a PC together?
Oh, hard is, you know, a subjective term, right? So depends how much you know, I guess. I mean, you know, servicing a car, changing the oil in a car, you know, one might say that's not a hard thing to do. However, if you don't have all the tools and you don't know exactly what to do, then it's probably pretty hard for you, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily hard for someone else who's doing it. So I've been playing around with tech and computers since I was basically as young as I can remember. So 3-year-old me was, you know, typing out the DOS directory for the games that I wanted to play. I had like a heap of DOS games installed back in the day. You know, like, so I've been playing around with tech the whole time, you know. I was there playing around with Windows XP and, you know, all the blue screens and stuff. I was there when Napster started. I was there, you know, I was there pre-internet, basically, as well. So when you've been playing around with it forever, not very hard, but when you don't play around with it, yeah, it can be a little bit challenging, for sure. And you got to have all the right tools, etc. Because if you run into a problem, for me it's no problem. I've got spare parts just laying around, thousands of dollars worth of parts just laying around. So no problems for me. If the power supply seems like it's failed, I can just plug in another power supply to confirm that. So no big deal for me. If your power supply, if you go to build your PC and you buy a power supply and the power supply is dead, you won't know, and you won't be able to confirm that it's definitely that and not something else. Alright, so these 3 fans on the wall here, we don't want to see any of these cables out the front. So we can't do anything about a few cables down there, so we'll just sort of leave them as is. Whereas these 3 fans, we're going to actually unhook the cable through that little gap there so that the cables can come directly out the back without any of the cable being seen there on the wall. So we want to do that for all of our fans. And that's the trick with them, to make them make the cables invisible. So like I say to people, it doesn't matter so much around the back. That can be messy. Don't make it hard to work on in the event that, you know, something goes wrong. Don't tie it up with, you know, 20 cable ties at the back, because as soon as you have something go wrong, you're gonna know all about it. And I guarantee, after something goes wrong and you have to cut out a heap of cable ties, you won't be putting them all back. Okay. And so once again, we're going to screw in these fans, starting from this one at the top. Yeah.
What do you think the hardest part about it?
The hardest part about it? I mean,
Which part?
Yeah, probably. It's probably not so much the assembly. It's getting all the parts right in the first place.
Like CPU and the right motherboard to go with CPU.
Yeah, all the technical stuff. That's the hard part.
Go on the motherboard?
This is the practical side. You know, you could say that this is just screwing in bolts and stuff like that. But yeah, the hardest part about from building PCs, that's doing things like hardline open loop water cooling and stuff like that. That's the more high end, that's the more skill intensive stuff. Just building a PC, I mean, anyone can learn how to build a PC. I mean, that's why we do the PC builds live stream. There's not really too many people doing that on the internet, and it's a great way to learn. So, yeah, if you when you first start out, you gotta accept that maybe some things are at your own risk at first if you don't know everything. But you know, there's no like IT course that really teaches you how to fix a PC or how to build a PC. You're expected to be able to sort of just be able to do that, if that makes sense. If you understand the PC, if that makes sense. Oh mate, I'll tell you a sad story. While I was between the ages of, when did I move there? 12 and like 16. So for 4 years, I lived in a house that had a split line. Now, with a split line phone, take your 56.6K and make it 28.8K. 28.4K or whatever it frickin' was. Half the speed of 56K modems. That's all I had between the age of 12 and 16. Then, after complaining about it, my mum got Telstra Business ISDN installed, and that gave me two 64 kilobyte connections. So I had a 128 kilobyte connection. I was very, very impressed with that. But then, yeah, we got broadband a few years later, so rest is history. Yep.
Have you ever made a CPU the bottleneck instead of GPU?
Have you ever made a CPU the bottleneck instead of the GPU? Yeah, well, I mean, if you go and get an older PC and plug in a modern graphics card, you'll probably have some sort of significant CPU bottleneck. And when I say significant CPU bottleneck, don't read too much into that. When I say significant, I just mean it's like, you know, not completely negligible. Not that, you know, there's absolutely no point and you should never ever do this. I mean, that's what the big companies want you to think, okay? Because they want you to buy a new motherboard every couple of years. They want you to buy a new CPU every couple of years. Yeah.
So how did you learn how to do custom loops? No room for error.
Oh, okay. So custom loops. Look, I live on a place. I'm back here now. I live on a place on acreage. Okay. When you live on places like this, you'll end up doing a lot of plumbing stuff yourself, whether it's irrigation systems for fruit trees and stuff like that, or just installing new taps and fittings in your house, because it's all low pressure plumbing and stuff like that. You've got easy control over it. You don't have to worry about town water and mains pressure stuff. So it's a good way to learn to do a bit of pipe work. So I was learning how to do that from when I was pretty young. And so, yeah, doing it with PCs when I first did one. Yeah, it was very straightforward because it's all the same sorts of principles that are involved with working with other pipes and all that. So that was my sort of background in it. And then I just dived in head first with it, basically. So that's usually how you learn. But I mean, obviously, I wouldn't suggest just jumping straight into building an open loop unless you've maybe played around with a bit of plumbing stuff before and a bit of pipe work and a bit of, you know, cutting that and putting on this connector. And if you got a bit of experience doing that, it won't seem so foreign to you. But yeah, just a little bit of a heads up there. Okay, so we've got a micro ATX board here in this full size ATX case. So we're gonna actually remove a couple of offsets. Because we want this to look nice and clean at the bottom. Alright. So yeah, just FYI here, you can actually move around this tray if you wanted to put the power supply up the top there for whatever reason. So you can actually remove this hard drive tray here and you can put it in at the bottom there as well. So you can switch that around, very, very customizable. So some people don't realize that you can do that. I don't see any problem with the power supply being down here. I quite like it. I think the cables up there is good. You can gives you plenty of room. You can sort of pre-install some SATA cables and sort of stash them up there for future use if you plan on getting a hard drive or something like that at a later date. Because yeah, I mean, sometimes it's good just to chuck a hard drive in your PC, even if you don't really use it. Just put a copy of all of your important stuff that you do use onto the hard drive there. And you know, while you're at it, maybe get yourself a portable hard drive and do the same thing on that, and give it to your friend or your family member or whoever, just someone else who's not in the same house as you. Then, if your house gets like raided and all your stuff gets stolen, or there's a fire and you can't get out, then you don't have to worry about losing all your photos and videos and important shit. So that's what I always recommend to people, because obviously people get really, really sad when they come to me and they're like, oh, everything's gone, blah, 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 can you make it come back? And it's like, no, dude, sorry, your stuff's gone. Your PC was damaged in the fall. You have to take it to a professional data recovery specialist. They're gonna want like a couple of grand off you, and they'll have a look and see what they can get back for you. Even they won't offer any sort of guarantee on getting stuff back. And so the only way to completely insure yourself from that is to not have all of your stuff just on one drive waiting to fail for whatever reason. So this is our power supply here. So like I said, you could go and prep up the cables and stuff, but I'm going to leave that one for now, and we'll get the cooler and the motherboard in the case.
Tim?
Yeah.
Why have a micro ATX and full size case?
Just price.
What sort of hard to find white motherboards.
Yeah, we weren't gonna pay another $200 for an extra inch of PCB. I don't need to have a full size ATX board in an ATX case to make it look neat. So yeah, it's all good. But the cases themselves are an ATX PC case, or just a standard PC case, for example. That
Oh, Jesus Christ.
that supports multiple different motherboards. So sometimes the maximum they support is ATX. However, some also support eATX motherboards. And then you've got standard ATX cases, and they support your ATX motherboard, your two sorts of micro ATX motherboards, your mini ITX motherboard. Yeah, they support a whole heap of different motherboards. Okay. So yeah, they typically try and rip you off, right? Because they assume. Are you serious? Oh no. What am I doing? It's around this way. Duh. Alright, and then yeah, just like your fans down the bottom, just get your cable tie there. Yeah.
David says he did.
Hey David, how you going? Good to have you with us. And so yeah, the thing is with this, right? We got a DDR5 motherboard, and so I'll give you the economics, right? So we saved $200 on this board here with all the silver on it, right? That'll look really nice in a white build. Then the next white silver board, yeah, was another $200 for the ATX, an ATX board that's just 1 inch longer at the bottom. So for an extra $200, no performance increase, you could have an extra inch of PCB there.
My screen did that thing again.
Oh, that's all right. Okay, so when it comes to mounting the radiator up top, I like to leave this this hole here. I like to leave that completely vacant. So I find it looks a lot neater up the top there if we don't have any cables coming through there. So we've got a couple of holes up the top here. So we're actually going to feed through these thin cables up the top. It also help to keep them all in place and stop the cables sort of sagging down and being seen that you have to sort of push up. So you want to try to avoid that where possible. So I'm just going to stick all these cables okay, get it all in place. Now I'll just get a couple of bolts in the radiator here, then I'll lift it back up, then you can sort of see what we're working with. And so yeah, if a customer says to me, hey, my budget's blah 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 blah, and I want to get this and I want to get that, and I want to get something in white, something like this, then yeah, I'm never gonna go, oh, we got you this one, but oh, it's $200 more than your budget, but we needed to have an ATX board, not a micro ATX board. But yeah, you'll see what I mean. You can actually make it look really neat and tidy. You don't need anything there. If you want, it's just the right length for a nice sticker or something there, a bit of branding or something like that for your channel or whatever at the bottom. I personally just like to run with a no cables visible along the bottom there. So if you do put a micro board in an ATX case, the bottom there should be free of cables. You shouldn't see all these freaking cables sticking up like that. Okay, that's my sort of condition about installing this sort of board in this case. But if you didn't know what we were talking about then, if it wasn't brought up, and you're just a casual observer, you wouldn't have noticed anything amiss with this in the first place. But yeah, like I said, it's not that there's a problem with it. It's just, yeah, it is what it is. I'll show you what you can do to make the cables look neat. Yeah.
David says Tim's the best in the business, always transparent, love my build, 6 months in.
Oh, thanks, David. Really appreciate it.
Dylan says gonna look nice with wooden fans.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's. I mean, you can sort of see basically what it's going to look like now. Yeah. But you can see very clearly now what this thing is going to look like. So we're going to have a graphics card in there. So that SSD, you're not going to see that SSD. You'll still have access to that top port right there. So if you want to install another M2 SSD, you can do that up the top. And you don't have to take your graphics card out to do it. So it makes your life a little bit easier. Okay, so we've got this controller. So what are we going to do with this? So I've hooked our pump up to the CPU header. So that's important because we want to make sure that the pump is just running at full speed. We don't want it going up and down, up and down, up and down. You know, sort of just like how a car has like you know, an ideal rev range. You don't really want your pump going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down all the time. Have you ever looked at the kilometers that taxis get up, or like commercial trucks? They go up like hundreds of thousands of kilometers and shit. That's because they're never off. They're like basically just constantly being driven around. It's like that with taxis. You know, one driver finishes their shift, and then the next driver like comes to their house and picks up the cab off them, and it keeps driving. It's only like every couple of weeks when they change the oil on them. That's the only time that they get cold for just a little bit. Then they're straight up never getting cold the whole time. So they last for ages. Same sort of principle with your pump. If it just runs at the one constant speed, it's not running too fast for it, it's not running too slow for it, it's just running at a nice stable speed. So that's always a good little pro tip there with that. As for these cables here from the fans, I might use one of these splitters for that, and then we might use the controller here for everything else. So, because I wouldn't mind having, you know, having the possibility for these fans here to on the actual radiator to be independently controlled if you wanted to. So we can plug in the splitter there. Trying to untangle these cables a little bit. And where would we hook that up to? Okay.
You know that old school actor Christian Bale? He's finally retiring.
Oh, okay.
He's been in 160 different films.
Oh, bloody hell. 160 different films. Damn. That is a lot of films.
Yeah.
It's just a couple, right?
George. Oh, sorry. Mr. Walsh. Sorry. Darren says hi from the UK.
Hey Darren, how you going? Good to have you with us.
George says, what's the ideal RPM for AIO pumps for Liberty?
So it depends on the brand of pump. So you'd have to look up the working rev range for a particular pump. Most of them are around the 2000 to 2500 mark. Some of them go up to 3500. But yeah, you'll notice this. The best way of doing it, you don't even have to go to the website. Just plug your pump into a fan header on your motherboard. Remember what fan header it is. Go into BIOS, set it to full speed, and then just look at the RPM that's coming off that header. That'll tell you what the full speed is for the specific model that you've got. So yeah, it could be something different. But yeah, you have to check that each brand of pump could be different. Okay, I'm gonna have to rethink this because we've got some short cable lengths here on this. pain in the ass. The fan length, the cable length on these fans is not really allowing me to hook this up the way that I wanted. But we can always reconfigure things. So this controller is just going to be up the top here. You're barely going to see it, and the only things I'm going to plug into it is coming off the radiator there. So okay, so I need one SATA power for it, and then these just go to the motherboard. So oh, shitty cable tie. Pull it tight and it breaks. So yes, don't mind that controller there. Just use it for those top fans. And then we'll chain everything up with everything else. Okay, so the splitter. You can plug this one in to these three at the bottom. Nice. Okay, so like I said, don't use heaps of cable ties, just group similar things together. It'll make your life a lot easier because everything's got a non-zero failure rate. Okay. Alright, so RGB. Oh. And we're just short on one of these cables as well. Okay, so slight detour with that fan that's closest to it, but we should be okay. We should be okay now. Alright, so we've got a big long daisy chain here for our RGB.
Says hi to you, Christy.
Hey Eddie, how you going? Good to have you with us. Okay, so I will need this other splitter. Alright, so like I said, just group similar things together. You don't want it super tight down here. Ugh. There we go. Struggle with it for a while. Just trying to feed that RGB cable in there behind the motherboard. Okay. Yep. Alright, so it's nearly power supply time. Just got our USB 3. USB-C. And a couple more bolts. Then all we've got left is the CPU power, motherboard power, and our graphics card. Yep.
I didn't know this. In 1974, America just declassified invasion plans for Canada, even in the 20s. They were going to invade Canada.
Yeah, I don't think it was so much a plan as it was like a backup plan as such.
Yeah, probably.
The US has America's got plans to invade everyone. Like they just have those plans in place because yeah, they're America. Okay. Now it's time for our power supply.
Basically just sort of British.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we get this nice little Cooler Master bag. And it comes in a nice little drawstring bag there as well. How nice is that? Okay, power supply. I'll put your motherboard documentation and a tube of thermal compound in there. M2 screws, your SATA cable. You won't need that. Yes. 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 Oh, let's put this here for now. Okay. So there's the power cables that we need. So we've got our main one here for the motherboard. Okay. We need our PCIe and CPU power cables. So these cables are directional. Make sure you're plugging the right one into the power supply. If not, you'll turn it on and things will start to smoke and then they catch fire. So that's always nice.
How can you even do that?
Inbred.
No. He did that on. It's called Gurn. They're calling Gurn. I have a different. Oh, I see. He has this disorder that causes him to have no teeth.
Oh. No teeth.
So he can pull his face where his lip is over his nose.
It's fucking weird.
Yeah.
No teeth. Damn. Get this man some teeth. Can't be fucking walking around with no teeth. How the fuck do you eat? How the fuck do you have a steak? How do you have a steak without any fucking teeth?
Blender.
Oh fuck no. fuck no. Just execute me, man. Euthanize me if I have to fucking eat steak in a blender.
He might have dentures too.
Well, if he doesn't, get this man some fucking teeth. Okay, so we can start with our CPU power cables. So yeah, you got a hole over there. I suggest you use that as opposed to the black rubber thing. It'll just look neater because the white cables will sort of blend into the case there. There we go. That looks good.
I have BIOS.
Oh, sweet.
ARGB. Oh.
Okay, so the only thing we haven't installed is our strimmer. And so obviously this is optional. BIOS. Okay, so yeah. Oh, bloody hell. Okay, so our strimmer just has our graphics card power cables. There we go. So, now that we have that prepped and ready to go, now all it's left to do is plug it all in. So let's get our graphics card all sorted. I hate that bit of sticky, eh? Do you reckon by the time you die, you've probably wasted like an hour or more of your life trying to like pick sticky off a box?
But sometimes it's necessary if you want to keep said box. You know, like figurines and stuff.
Yeah, I get it, but it's also, when you die, I'm not sure if you'll be like, oh, thank God I pulled the plastic off figurines. Oh, thank fuck I did that. I can die happy now. Oh, I hate this sticky. There we go. you serious? Yep, we're pretty much there. In fact, we are there. Okay, so now's the moment of truth. Has Tim put it together properly? I don't know. Maybe.
I hope so.
Give it a go. See if it turns into a smoking pit. Oh, look at that. Not a smoking pit. Sweet. That looks like a post. Okay. So we'll go and flash a new BIOS. Make sure that's all up to date. And yeah, around the back there, as you can see, everything just gets concealed behind that panel. Just quite nice. There we go. From version 1.0 to version 5.0, that's good. So while that's going on, I'm just going to chuck a couple of extra bolts in our radiator. Yeah. Hey Emily, how you going? Thanks, mate. Yeah, I love it. It's the D11s look awesome. Yes, I'll message the tax agent back and we'll go and sort that all out. I need to pay. I need to make some GST payments that I haven't made. Yep. Oh well. You like my business. Business tax, basically. But yes, we've been, as you probably know, we've been dealing with a bit of crap over the last few months. Which is why I'm a few months behind. That's okay. It'll all sort itself out eventually. At least I'm, you know, there are people sleeping rough and stuff like that at the moment. Yeah, we have the house with water and electricity and a bed. That's pretty good.
Rents and stuff like that. There's just so many people without a house. It's ridiculous. Like, we live in a rural area where there's like a river nearby, and there's basically tent city down there at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Alright, well there's the new version of BIOS on it.
Yeah, this is pretty recent BIOS. It was last month.
Yeah, well there was only version 1 on there, so... Okay, so we are all looking good there, so we can go ahead and install Windows and all the other good stuff that we do. Oh, hang on, I just realised I've got fans that I have to configure just quickly. Okay, so we go over to advanced mode. Hardware monitor is what it is on MSI. Okay, so our CPU fan is plugged into our pump. So we're going to turn off smart fan and we're going to switch it over to DC. And why aren't we... Oh yeah, there we go. I was like, why aren't I seeing a readout? But yeah, there we go. So I think this one will be, as I said, this will be about 2500. Yeah, there you go. So pump has fans, PWM. So smart mode. Sys fan 1. Sys fan 2, nothing. And sys fan 3 is... Oh, they're both PWM. Alrighty. That's nice. Nice and quiet. Probably the only fan you can hear is the actual pedestal fan inside this room. Okay. Now we're all good to go. So I was sitting there, I'm like, I can hear fans revving too hard. They're not set up correctly in the system. I just had a soldier ant on me from one of the the black ones.
It's like, are you dead yet?
They're like twice as long as the regular ones.
Mm-hmm. An extra body.
Yeah, well, this one didn't bite me yet. It's just crawling up my arm. So black ants are kind of your friends in Australia, because black ants, their favourite thing to eat is termites. So if you've got black ants around, they'll seek out and destroy termites.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just be aware of that. If you have black ants on your property, you might not want to get them removed. It might be just a good motivation to clean up your kitchen more.
Emily wants to know how's the cat.
Yeah, cat's fine.
I see, well, she says I'd love to see a build in all in Mission Brown.
Someone someday is gonna order a full Noctura themed build.
I like Noctura fans. They look cool. You can get these I think they're made by Antec. The front panel has wood veneer like panels on the front with a mesh behind it.
Isn't it fractal?
Ooh, could be fractal.
Because I'm pretty sure it's fractal that has.
Yeah, it is fractal.
Yeah. Fractal have the yeah. We don't have any fucking vendors for fractal in Queensland.
Really?
No.
Oh. Nah. They also are fucking sick.
Oh mate, yeah, you'll love this. 4070 Ti, and you know, if in a couple of years you want to get some extra performance out of it, you can put in a more powerful CPU.
4000D, you can go wood panel to go on the front.
That's what you got at the moment.
No, 5000D, sorry, I meant to say platform.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, that's nice.
Thermal take.
I've seen this before.
It's funny. I've seen it before too. But it's
They just sit there with like real serious faces the whole time.
I feel like it was hard to keep a straight face.
I reckon it was, for sure. Okay. So, I'm going to install some stuff offline here to save us a bit of time. What have we got? MSI, Intel. Okay, what else can we do offline? Alright, we can install a few things from here offline.
What are you doing? What was that? What did you have in your mouth?
Alright, there's our graphics card driver. Okay, so now that we've got a bit of stuff installed, we can go ahead and restart. And now we can plug in a LAN cable. So we've got our Wi-Fi antennas. So we've got integrated Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so you don't have to get any dongles or any of that nonsense. It just works straight out of the box. No need for anything else. Obviously for your internet, if you plug in a cable, that's always the best option. But in a pinch, yes, it's got Wi-Fi. And not slow, shitty Wi-Fi, like fast Wi-Fi. Okay, so what else have we got? Stuff that needs an internet connection. Alright, so gaming apps. Got it. Okay, that's all going on. Okay, so we need to get a few things from in here. We need Cinebench for our stress test. Alright, so we're just about done. Alright, so we can set up MSI Afterburner. We can tune our graphics card fans and set up the on-screen display. Oh, we got a problem with MSI Afterburners installed. We will reinstall it. Alright, so this one is going over to the west coast, which is like GT. Sorry, where are we? Going fucking way past it. Oh, there we are. Okay, let's give MSI Afterburner another go now. There we go, that's looking better. So we can adjust our graphics card fan curve. Okay, so these are all the things we're going to see in our on-screen display. Okay, so I think that's literally everything we need from in here. Alright, we're nearly done here.
Emily says she bought a 4 terabyte HDD the other week. She needs specifically for games.
Yep.
She got it used, $65.
Oh, that's pretty good. Is Emily in North America though?
No, England, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because are you in England?
Because I mean, that if it's Australian, that's really, really good. If it's New Zealand, it's even better. If it's America, that's pretty good. It's a decent price, cheaper than new.
Yeah, she's in the UK, £65.
£65. Oh yeah, yeah. It's pretty good. Hard drives are really expensive at the moment. We're at that point because storage has like a price cycle. Because most of the storage and RAM and stuff like that is used by like data centers and shit like that. So all of those big companies, they replace their storage periodically, and they all buy at the same time. And so when they all buy and they're all getting new stock, the prices on the retail end go up. And then they don't buy anything, then there's heaps of extra stock laying around, and then the consumer price drops. So you never want to hold on to too much storage for too long. Pro tip. $6,000 megahertz. Yep, everything's all good. Let's just check over here. No asterisks. It's good.
I wish my parents were horsey people when I was a kid. This kid got to get picked up from school with a horse. So riding the bus, and I wish I rode a horse.
Oh, yep.
Do you use an external?
Do I use an external? I do, but not to store games on, just as like a backup for all of my data. And I always like to keep that. I keep it at my parents' place, and that way I'm insured. If there's a fire or something like that, I don't have to worry. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with having games on an external, because once they load to RAM, you won't have to worry about really communicating with the SSD other than when the levels are loading and stuff. Okay. Couple of quick updates there. Everything else is installed correctly. Okay. Alright, so CPU ID or CPU Z just tells you information about your system. So if you ever wondered what CPU, motherboard, memory, all that sort of technical stuff, you can just open up this app and it will sort of tell you what you need to know. You can bench test it and compare it to other CPUs. Do that in your own time. Hardware monitors all the temperatures and stuff. And realistically, we'll run some gaming benchmarks. So Heaven, high, no anti-aliasing. And so all this stuff on the screen up here, you got your GPU, temperature, usage, clock speed, wattage. Mem in green, that's your VRAM usage and clock speed. You got your CPU, temperature, usage, clock speed, wattage. You got your RAM usage, and this number below RAM, that's how many frames per second it's currently running at. Where is it? What the fuck is that?
Old mines.
Oh.
They're like filled with like fresh water now. That's so cool. No idea where it is. Doesn't say. This dude like goes looking for like old mine shafts to like check it out. Dude's living life on the edge.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. So that was Heaven there on high with no anti-aliasing. So you can download these apps, Heaven, Valley, and Superposition yourself, and you can run these on your own computer and compare to this system right here. And so this benchmark here, Valley, even if we ran it on the same settings as Heaven, this is a more demanding benchmark. And we're also running it on higher settings here. This will simulate a different game to the previous one. Yeah. Oh.
It actually cuts the grass.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine if it bailed it.
Oh, that would be even better.
Little tiny bales.
You could make so much money.
Who the fuck would buy little tiny bales? It's like a handful of fucking grass. Little cow snacks. Like one bite, like a chocolate bar or something. Alrighty, so that was Valley there on Ultra with max anti-aliasing, and then finally we have Superposition. Oh, it's awesome, isn't it? The D11, excellent case. But it's a little bit different. That's why, that's why I do the videos on it and talk about it and stuff. Because if you're wanting to build one, you haven't built one before, there's a lot of like little pissy mistakes that you can make. And they're very time consuming. But yes, this is our 4K benchmark here, so... Good idea. Huh?
I said I want that now.
That was today, wasn't it? Haha. Okay, so that was Superposition there at 4K. Alright, so we are now coming to the end of our night. Alright, so we set this up for a 90-minute run. So this is our furry donut here that stresses out the graphics card, and Cinebench will stress out our memory and our CPU. And then we log all the temperatures over here. And we'll make sure everything's running alright, and if everything's all good, then we'll get her packed up and shipped off. Alright, so Christine's out of the room. I can go back to full screen and I can go over to the comments. I think Emily wants to see the cat. We're back on full screen, so if you want to bring him over. He's a very fluffy cat.
He doesn't look too happy.
Come on, be fluffy.
He's like, you took me away from the moths. I want to watch the moths.
He's thrilled, isn't he?
Oops. Fluffy now. Move that bag. Fluffy butt. Very nice.
He's very fluffy. Alright, so if anyone's got any other final questions for me before I sign off, now's your time to speak.
Anthony's in the same place I run some nice small fans. But I'm not IQ ones.
Yes, yep.
This is kind of shame.
Yes.
Yeah, he pulls his hair out in stress sometimes, and sometimes he just needs comb and shave.
We've desexed, or had a female dog spayed, so she's been inside the last few days on medication, and that's kind of been stressing out Fluffy Meow.
He was doing fine.
Yep.
And then the dog had to come inside, and now he's like, oh, I don't like the dog.
Oh well.
Anyway.
No, well, I think that might be it for the night. So.
Oh, Anthony says actually I have a question.
Yeah, shoot. What's your question?
I run a 4080 at the moment. I run a 10900K. I know the CPU bottlenecks. I think I'm better off upgrading to a CPU CPU or stay Intel.
Look, that's really up to you. I think Intel realistically still have the performance crown over AMD. Wait to see what AMD brings to the table with their next lot of CPUs. But yeah, Ryzen 7000's a little bit underwhelming when it comes to price performance. And you'll need new RAM. You'll need to upgrade to DDR5 for Ryzen 7000. You could go Ryzen 5000, but I mean that's the older platform. 10900K with a 4080. I mean, there's a little bit of a CPU bottleneck, but it's not like you're gonna get like freaking an extra 100 frames a second or something like that. It's gonna be a small incremental increase in performance. So the thing is, with 4080, it's probably running everything at hundreds of frames a second. So 10% of when you're running everything at like 150 plus frames a second, it's not as big a deal, if you know what I mean. Which is why I tell people generally not to worry so much about bottlenecks, especially with modern hardware, because we're like splitting hairs and stuff like that. Bottlenecks more like when you've got like an older CPU, and I mean you with a 10900, that is an older CPU at this stage. I mean we're about to launch Intel 14th gen, and you've got an Intel 10th gen. So I mean, yeah, you're coming up to it. There's plenty of CPUs that outshine the 10900K when it comes to gaming. So yeah.
Dale wants to know what's it look like with the covers on.
What's it look like with the covers on? Oh yeah. Yeah, like, it's the best way to... I would start to plan, I was going to say, I would start to plan your next upgrade, but don't sort of like jump on it like, holy shit, I'm screwed if I don't do this sort of thing. It's not going to be a massive increase in performance. So my advice would be maybe start putting a little bit of money to the side for an upgrade, and maybe wait till you've got the money to upgrade to DDR5 RAM, either Intel 13th gen or 14th gen or Ryzen 7000 series. He was looking at upgrading to a 7800X 3D and an AM5 motherboard. Yep. Yeah, I would wait. Yeah, I would wait till you can do all three of those things at once. Then, like, you'll get a bit of a you'll notice the performance increase more, because you'll have the DDR5 RAM as well. So that plus the less bottleneck, that will, together that will be a much better package. But still, the lift from your previous graphics card to the 4080, that was the big increase in performance. So sort of 80% of your gain has been just by adding that 4080. Then you can look at getting that extra bit of performance in it. But like I said, don't go out of your way to do it. Just do it like in line with when you would probably want to be upgrading. So like, yeah, start putting like $50 a week away or something like that, so you can buy it all in 3 to 6 months time, and then but in the meantime, don't freak out too much. Everyone talks about bottlenecking and stuff like that, and I swear it's because they want you to buy more CPUs and motherboards and stuff more frequently and whatnot. No worries, mate. Oh, well I mean, you'd notice a massive increase then. And so by doing all this, you'd get a bit of an increase, but not quite as pronounced as that. So yeah, I mean, what you can do is if you type in for example, type in for example 7800X 3D plus RTX 4080. And you should be able to find some gaming benchmarks, and then just have a look at some different combinations of specs, like maybe see if you can find 10900K plus 4080, and then see if you can find maybe like Ryzen 5600X and 4080, and then maybe 7800X 3D, maybe just try a few different ones with the 4080. See if you can find the same game, run at roughly the same settings. and just do a bit of research, sort of quantify it out for yourself, see what performance gain you can expect from it, and that'll hopefully sort of guide you as to how badly you want it. All right, what's up? Yeah, no worries. So yeah, it's one of those sort of hard topics to think about sometimes. But yeah, like I said, do a bit of research and see what you can find out, because the thing is, every game runs slightly differently, right? Some games are, they do better with like a faster RAM. Some games do better with like a better CPU because they're a little bit more CPU intensive. So you have to do some research, and you have to look at the game that you want to run, or the games you want to run. So yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like, so if you were bottlenecked roughly 10% by your 10900K, so you get 220 frames a second. I would guess that like an extra 20 frames a second there doesn't make much. It's not too much of a difference, because at 200 frames a second, you're not gonna notice the difference between 200 frames a second and 220 frames a second. So yeah, that's what I'd like to try and make clear to people, is that, beyond a certain point, any further increase is kind of a little bit moot. It's like having $1 million in your bank and then going, oh shit, I better go do my shift at Coles doing night fill, like for $25 an hour or something like that. It doesn't make any sense. If you got $1 million in your account, you can make more money than that per year just from investments. So yeah. That gives you a bit of an example of it. So bottlenecking and stuff is a real problem when you've got much older hardware. Say if you had like an i7 8700K, so that would be coming up to 6 years old. You'd probably be looking at more like a 20%, 25% bottleneck with something like that. So I would say that, yeah, getting an extra 25% performance, that's a little bit more of a jump. That's better than 10% more. So yeah, it becomes more of a thing the older you get. However, if you're on a budget, you don't have much money, maybe the older CPU, motherboard, and RAM is all you can afford, but then you've got a decent graphics card. Don't worry that it's going to be bottlenecked a little bit. That's fine. You can run it fine, at least 80% or so of what it could be, and then you can just put a little bit of money aside every week until you can afford a more modern motherboard and CPU. Then you can upgrade. Then you can realize that that performance increase from it not being bottlenecked. But yeah, like I said, they would love to convince everyone that bottlenecking is this scary thing, and that you need to upgrade every year to get a better CPU. I mean, it would benefit me if everyone wanted to do that as well, but I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that you need a new CPU every 2 years or something like that. So yeah, basically right now the rate that graphics card performance has increased, the CPUs, the rate that CPUs have increased, graphics cards haven't increased quite as much. So beyond a certain point with CPUs, you start sort of running into like diminishing returns on spending more. So it becomes a case of beyond a certain point is almost like just flexing in a way. But yes, like I said, do research for the games that you want to run and the hardware you want to buy. That's the best way of doing it. Don't ever listen to what any one person says. do a bit of research for yourself. What I like to do, I like to look at like actual gaming benchmarks that other people have uploaded from live footage on their PC. You'll be able to get a really good indication as to how different hardware will run different games, and that's more meaningful than looking at any like benchmark results or anything like that. Seeing how it actually runs in the game that you want to play is the most meaningful kind of performance metric you can look at. Okay, well, yeah, too easy. Yeah, it's a bit of a head fuck, all this stuff sometimes. And yeah, it's a head fuck as in like it's hard for me to explain the ins and outs of this, because it's such a complicated topic, and half the time someone will bring it up and it's like, oh man, I have to start from the start again, and there's so much to sort of explain with all that. But anyway, well, look, I think that might be it for tonight. So thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all in the next video.